Microsoft Research in climate modeling. We've got lots of data that different government agencies collect in terms of weather and soil and air and wind and so on. Imagine all of this data being put together in a way that we can predict when to plant what crop. So we have the capability, we have the information sources, and in the end, you want someone to make that decision. We need to plant more soybeans here at this time of year in this region. And so that's where we're going with the big data. Now, right now, we're so consumed with the big data part, we're forgetting that what we really want is data to knowledge to action. So by my saying we're so consumed by the big data part, I mean that we're thinking, all this data, we have to store all this data, we have to process all this data. But in the end, you want to represent the knowledge that's inherent in all the bits in a way that a human being in the end will make some intelligent decision. And so I think where we're going, I think we're very consumed about big data now, but I think very soon we'll start talking more about intelligent decision making or visualization of this data so that mere human beings can make these decisions, can actually act on the knowledge that's represented by the data.
It's pretty standard for executives to rave about the talent that they have under them, but we also like metrics. So if I challenge you and say, prove it, what are the things that you'd tell me about the researchers at MSR?
Microsoft Research has a stellar academic reputation, and one of the standard metrics, whether we like it or not, in terms of evaluating the quality of research coming out of an organization or the quality of the researchers who produce the research is, of course, publications. And Microsoft researchers are way up there in terms of conference and journal publications in the highest quality venues. That's one metric. It's a stand-in, actually, for what I think is a more important metric in research, but harder to quantify, which is the impact of a person's research, the impact of an organization's research. There again, I still think that Microsoft Research, partly by the sheer size of Microsoft Research as an organization, has had a tremendous impact on the advances of science.
One of the groups within MSR is the RISE team, who've been very active in the developer community, and they've created and released some amazing tools. What's the value of that group to MSR?
Tremendous. So the RISE team has had tremendous value both to Microsoft Research, but also to the entire developer community. So I am quite familiar with the RISE, the kind of work that RISE does, because that's actually my home research area in formal methods and software engineering, in programming languages. And I just have to share with you one story, because I know one of the great contributions that RISE has made for the developer community has been the code contracts. And if you look at what you would write in one of those contracts, it would be requires clauses and ensures clauses, which are the equivalent of pre and post conditions. And in my very own PhD thesis, you will see requires and ensures in the specification language that I actually defined in my own thesis work. And that wasn't new to me. That was the kind of informal specifications we were actually asking undergraduates at MIT to use in the software engineering course that I was a TA for. So way back in decades ago, we were writing requires ensures clauses. We didn't have tool support the way the RISE group has provided for developers. So we've come a long way. But let me speak more specifically to the benefit of the RISE group for both Microsoft Research and the developer community. First of all, they really are world-class in terms of advancing all the research areas I mentioned in terms of formal methods and programming languages, static and dynamic analysis, testing, verification, specification, and tool support thereof all. And one of the things that really impresses me about the RISE tool set is that they really build on each other. So you have like Z3 as this constraint solver on the bottom, which is the core, state-of-the-art, theorem improver, and all these tools that sit on top and work together. It's really impressive that this one team has put this all together. And all of that is made available to the developer community. And the developer community, at the same time, has been able to inspire the RISE community, the RISE team, to work on research problems that I don't think they would have thought of had it not been for the feedback they got from the developers.
What are some of your favorite projects at MSR?
One of my current favorites is actually the Worldwide Telescope to GeoFlow example. And before I explain why that's, before I explain that favorite, I want to tell you why it's one of my favorites. And when I talk about research in computer science, I like to talk about both the drivers of the questions researchers ask in computer science, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the impact that one can have in doing research in computer science. So I'd like to talk about science drivers, technology drivers, and societal drivers. So there are deep science questions that researchers in computer science ask. They ask questions like, what is computable? Is this problem even solvable by a computer? Those kinds of deep questions continue to intrigue theoretical computer scientists, and as the nature of what a computer is changes, we have to re-ask that question. Technology drivers, it's clear. As technology advances, we again have old questions that we have to ask again because there are going to be new answers, and new questions to ask. And then I think what's really new in the field of computing, or at least recently, is what I call societal drivers. The societal grand challenges like healthcare, energy, transportation, education that require advances in computer science to actually help solve the problems in their sectors. And I believe that advances in computer science can actually transform the very conduct of these other professions. So in healthcare, for instance, I really believe that if we were far out thinking in terms of where this country or where the world could be in terms of personalized medicine and so on, to achieve that vision, we are going to need advances in computer science. So I think now, instead of science, technology, and society as being drivers of computer science research, I think they are also measures of how much impact we have had as a field. We have, through our research, advanced science. Certainly our understanding of computer science, but other sciences as well. Again, biology, chemistry, material science, astronomy. And also, through our research, we have certainly had an impact on technology. Just look at Microsoft. Look at all the Microsoft products and services and devices that we sell to our customers. A lot of the technology rests on advances that we have made in research. And then finally, there's society. And I like to think that through our reach, through our customers that we reach through our technology, we certainly affect society in a